In this episode, it feels like a throwback human to human episode. It's a TMI vibe. Hello and welcome back to Human to Human. I'm Jess, and today I am doing a Q&A episode just focused on one question that was submitted, honestly, how long ago? December 1st of 2024. I'm sorry, girl, it took me so long. I have had ups and downs with the pod over the past few years. I've had moments where I don't post for a while, but we've been back, we've been grooving, we've been on a roll lately. And so today I'm going to be talking about periods, period products, my journey with periods, advice I would give, because the question that was asked, actually, pause. Before we get into the question, if you would like to submit a question or submit anything you want featured on the podcast, go to humantohumanpod.com/podcast. And if you scroll down, there will be a form where you can submit an anonymous question. You can admit something true. You can admit something. You can share a story. You can ask a question. If you want to include your name and have a shout out, you can, but you don't have to. When it's emailed to me, it's completely anonymous. And I love getting questions. So if there's something you're like, oh my God, I'm dying to know a little bit more about Jess's life, submit it right here, right now. I'll give you a moment. While we give you a moment, we can take a deep breath. Okay, I'm so excited to read your question on the next episode. Thank you for submitting that. Okay, so this question is, can you please do a girl talk episode all about first periods, tips and tricks, and life hacks for your period? Let's fucking go. I have had the most interesting evolving relationship with not only my period, but my vagina for my entire life. I remember when I was in middle school, I was like, I don't know if anyone else is like this, and I kind of wish it was different because once you get older, you want to just like be a kid again. But when you're a kid, I feel like all you want is to be older because they all seem so cool. And so I remember when I was in middle school, I'm like, oh my God, I want to get my period. It's going to be so fun. It means I'm a woman. I want to be a woman. And I actually am not a subscriber of the language around periods being like the most awful thing ever and negative and like poor me and whatever. Actually, whoa. But like, I'm not hating on that. But I remember reading somewhere or seeing something that was like, we can look at our periods as like this empowering thing. And like, we're meant to lean into softness and more quiet, relaxing time in that part of our cycle. Like, you know, we don't always need to bash them. However, they are absolutely a challenge. They are painful. And I don't want to invalidate that experience, but I want to come from the lens of empowerment today when it comes to talking about our periods. Because for me, growing up, being young, getting my period for the first time, I was like, I felt a lot of different ways about the products that you could use and what seemed like the cooler quote unquote products versus the lame products. And now, speaking as a 25-year-old, having my period for over 10 years, crazy. There's no such thing as cool and uncool period products. I mean, maybe in my mind, I just had the desire to know my body well enough to be able to insert a tampon, for example. But if I were to look back and give my younger self advice about the early days of having my period, I would tell myself a few things. One of the things I would say is that, girl, this is a journey. There's no like correct way to handle this. There's no destination. This is just going to continue to evolve and change, and you are not going to stay in one place forever with the way you handle your period. Okay? That's number one. And number two is that there will be products that are right for you for different seasons of your life. Again, I was just like, I just want to use tampons. I don't use tampons. I still don't use tampons. Tampons just aren't the product that works for me. However, I've been able to find a few different options of products that work for me. And everyone is so unique, and the thing that's going to work for me is going to be probably different than the thing that's going to work for you. And it's okay to just like be okay with that and to just have that evolving relationship with your period product care. So yeah, that's number 3. There's no product is more superior than the other. And then number 4 is that no product is perfect. When I was young, I just felt that somehow like there would be a perfect product. There would be a product that would like perfectly work for me, and I would feel so good on my period, and I wouldn't feel bloaty or icky or dirty or sweaty or bloody. And that's just not the reality. And as I got more and more comfortable using different products, I'm having like flashbacks to just so many moments, horror moments of trying to just use different products. But as I experimented with different products, as I used different products, I just started to learn that like there's no perfect solution. And my philosophy around period products is when I'm on my period, I will use the product that's working in that moment. And then when I get so frustrated with it that I can't deal with it anymore, I switch to a different product. Now, here's the part of the episode where we're going to get into the deep TMI energy. Okay? You're welcome, Ben, my lovely post-production person editing this. Ben's going to learn about periods today. I'm just kidding. Ben, you already know, but like you're just gonna get into it. And I know there's men who listen to the podcast too. And I love it. I love it. Let's educate ourselves about what women experience literally every single month. Maybe it's every 28 days, maybe it's every 26 days, maybe it's every 32 days. Everyone has a bit of a different period length. But yeah. So when I was in middle school, I was, first of all, stoked. It's the first time I got my period. And it took me a really long time to kind of like find the products that felt good for that time. I am very much, or was very much, a pad girl for like the first probably 8 years of my period life. And there's so many different kinds of pads too that like I'm a picky bitch. There were certain pads where I was like, these give me the ick. They make me feel gross. I hate the way they even are sticky and the way they get onto my underwear. I hate the way they feel when you open. I'm a sensory sensitive person. I hate the way they feel when you open the package. And so honestly, my advice is just to like keep trying different pad brands. And I'm grateful my mom was really helpful with that with me. Like I was very vocal about that with her, just like hating different period pad brands. And then like we had a phase where we found this amazing pad brand, and it was like the perfect blend of like enough support where like you don't use them on your heavy bleed days, but you would use them on the days where you're like lightly bleeding, kind of maybe spotting, but not fully heavily bleeding. Like it wasn't, you were bleeding too much to the point where you couldn't use a panty liner, but you weren't bleeding enough where you needed a full-on pad. And anyway, my mom and I were like obsessed, and then they discontinued this brand. So then her and I are like, fuck, we gotta find some other period product. And that's just like a testament to the entire experience, truly, is that like you find something that works, and then when it doesn't work anymore, you gotta find something else, and it's just an ever-evolving process. So through and through, my bread and butter when it comes to my period are pads. And nowadays, like if I do use a pad, You by Kotex, my mom got them on Amazon. Like that's kind of what I go to. But I am no longer a hardcore pad girl. I still like have a dear place in my heart for them, but I had to change my method, but I won't get into that yet. Give me a moment. We're still on the early days, okay? So in my early days, some reason I thought tampons were just cooler. And you know what? Not some reason. There's a lot of language around pads are gross. Pads feel like a diaper. I feel so gross when I wear pads. And it's like, don't get me wrong. Pads do, how in depth do I want to get? How TMI do I want to get? How oversharing do I want to get? If you've worn pads for like a whole day, your coochie gets bloody. Like that's just how it goes. So you need to wash your cooch, or like you need to have a little bird bath. Oh my God, a bird bath. We are like queens of the bird bath around here. Bird bath is when you just do all the primal areas and it's just a super quick wash. You stand in the tub, you sit in the tub, you do psh, 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 psh. That's my cooch, my butt, my armpit, and my other armpit. And boom, you're done. Like, do a bird bath. Do what you need to do. But like there was so much language around pads in that fashion of them being gross that like people were like idolizing tampons. And I was like, I need to figure out how to use a tampon. And without completely embarrassing my entire childhood self, my whole like teenage self, I like didn't know where my hole was. I didn't know how to find it. I didn't know. Don't get me wrong. I was still masturbating, but there was no hole that was in my existence. I was scared of it. Okay. I was scared of it. I'm sharing this because if I fucking heard someone say this when I was young, it would make me feel so validated and like I'm okay. And one day I would get comfortable with my hole. But truly, like I'm just thinking about Ben listening to this right now. This is what happens when you get a team member. Like, it's not just the girls and me, it's Ben, the girls and me. Okay, where was I going with that? I was talking about my fear. I was like a queasy kid, okay? To go even further back, in grade 5, I was like so stoked to learn about periods. Like I was like, tell me everything when I was in health class. You know the like one class a year you get about sexual health and you're like, give me the information. That's how I felt. And I was so locked in. However, it runs in my family being queasy and passing out because of our queasiness. And I think it was kind of like planted as a seed in my brain that I might be like this because my dad passes out every time he gets his blood taken. So I was like, I didn't know, I was really young. Grade 5 is really young. I didn't know I had that kind of like queasy nature yet. I had one moment where a friend at my cottage like cut his leg and I remember it being bloody and feeling lightheaded and I had to lie down. But I didn't know I was like a queasy person at this point. So in health class, also, this is such bullshit. In health class, I should be a sexual health teacher. I would do such a good job, I think. I just feel like, why didn't my grade 5 teacher just say things with her mouth? No, they put on a video that we had to watch. So anyway, the video gets to this point where there's a uterus, a fictional, like drawn uterus, and it's showing blood going down your walls and shedding of your uterus or whatever. I wish I had the proper terms. My sexual education wasn't good. Can you tell? And I literally fainted. I fainted in class because of the blood of the fake uterus period blood. I was so excited to learn, but it also really scared me to think about like blood coming out of your uterus, and blood really like freaked me out, and like my uterus really, like my literal vaginal canal freaked me out, and I had just never explored it, and I was just really overwhelmed by it. Anyway, I remember getting lightheaded. I remember seeing black spots in my vision, and then next thing I know, my teacher was holding me. Talk about an embarrassing health class, okay? So not only was I scared of my vagina, passing out over period blood on a sexual health video, but I wanted to use tampons. I wanted to. And when I look back on the moments I shared with my mom, my close family member, that's my mom's cousin, basically my aunt, a friend of mine who was older and like a sister to me, I had them. Are we really going to go there today? I think so. I could keep this a secret, but I genuinely think this could help someone. I literally had friends and family helping me try to put a tampon in, okay? Yeah. I wanted to do it and yet was so scared of my own hole that they would try to put it in for me. I'm so embarrassed. This is so embarrassing. And when I look back and I reflect, I'm like, of course I couldn't put a tampon in when I was going like this. Okay, try. Okay, go. Okay, try. And they'd be like, relax. I'm like, okay, I'm relaxed. You're clenching everything. Nothing's going to go inside of you when you're clenching everything. And like, why did family and friends all do this? Because they were like, I would go swimming at the cottage and I'd be on my period, or I would be dancing and I'd be wearing a teeny tiny little outfit and I was on my period and I didn't want you to be able to see my pad and I just wanted to be cool. Okay. I just wanted to be cool. Okay. that was really why. I just wanted to be like, I wear tampons. I'm so cool. So eventually I like gave up the process. Okay. And I stopped trying to wear tampons until one faithful morning. I had a dream in my sleep that I was so comfy, cool, casual, relaxed, and I just slid a tampon right in. And I woke up that morning and I was like, the next time I get my period, I will be putting a tampon in all by myself because I'm a big girl. And I did. And my mom says she will never, ever forget me calling her, being like, she was at work, and I was like, Mom, I put a tampon in. I put a tampon in. And she was like, so stoked for me. And wouldn't it be great if the rest of this story was like, now I use tampons all the time and I love them so much. Nope, still hate them. Still hate them. Now, being 25, still continuing to learn about my body, I now know why. Multiple reasons. I always felt like I couldn't quite put them in properly and I would feel them. Because people were always like, oh, if you put tampons in properly, like you shouldn't be able to feel them. And tampons work really well for a lot of people. And I love you for that. Like slay, live your best life. If that works for you, do it. Toxic shock syndrome also scares the shit out of me. But I just would always be able to feel them. And I hate, oh my God, I hate having to take them out. Hate with like I don't hate a lot of things. I hate taking tampons out. I'll never forget one moment I was going to school in the morning and I tried to put a tampon in and I didn't put it in properly. And I don't even want to get too far into it because similar to when I recorded the episode about laser eye surgery, like it'll give me the heebie-jeebies and make me feel like I want to pass out again. I didn't put it in properly. The feeling of it being in and not like in the right way and feeling it is so fucking uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks to more moments. So I was like, I need to take this out. And it was like making me feel like I was going to pass out because the worst thing in the world is taking out a dry tampon. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. It's cotton yanking it out of you. And I had to like get in the shower to try and do it. I had to once I did it, my mom had to come in and just like be moral support. And then I think she might have taken it out for me. I don't even know. And then I had to lay on the bathroom floor. And this is all before 8 a.m, having to go to school in high school. So I really just think I was like, I'm just not going to use tampons. I'm going to make peace with this. And I was happy with that. And I was fine with that. And I just basically found things that worked for me in moments when I was on my period. And typically someone would say, just wear a tampon. For example, at the cottage, I would wear underwear. Or no, what I would do is I would wear either a bathing suit with a pad on it, or down the line when I learned about period underwear, I would just wear period underwear and it looked like a bathing suit bottom. It was a black pair of underwear, totally looked like that. And when I would go swimming, luckily this worked most of the time because I was just at my cottage with my family. I would take my bathing suit bottoms off and then I would put a regular bathing suit on. I would swim while I was swimming. Apparently you don't really bleed. Even if you did, you could just whoosh, whoosh, to the side, bring your bathing suit to the side whoosh, whoosh, while you're in water. And then I would get out and then I'd dry off and then I'd put my pad back on. Sounds like a lot of work, but I felt 10 times more comfortable doing that over wearing a tampon and getting stressed out. And it worked for me. It was great. You don't swim with your pad on. I think that's kind of weird. But even if I was just alone on the dock, hanging out at the cottage, maybe my family were around, but they weren't with me, I would just take my underwear off that had my pad on it, jump in the lake, little commando, just my top on, and then get out, wash off, dry off, put my underwear back on. And that worked. And honestly, it worked for me for a really long time. And I was like, this is just how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Until I started working at Othership. And now before we get into the Othership story, I'll get onto the period underwear for a hot minute. Obsessed with period underwear. It is phenomenal. It is fantastic. However, it works until it doesn't. So I learned pretty quickly that with period underwear, you may be able to. I personally can't wear period underwear all day. Ew. Just because I don't want to say ew because it's not gross. It feels just kind of gross because when you wear period underwear, like during the day, in my opinion, and then like pee and whatever, and then put them back on, when you bring them back on, they just feel wet because they have blood in them. And so period underwear has become my solution to my nighttime flow. So I found it really great. What my stack was for a long time is I'd wear pads during the day, change out my pads a couple times throughout the day, depending on my flow. And then at night I would like have a shower and then I would wear period underwear to bed. And then that was always really comfortable because going to bed with just period underwear on feels like normal underwear. So good. My go-to is Knix, Knix, and I found that over the years, period underwear has gotten better and better. Because at first I'm actually wearing some right now, even though I'm not on my period. I have these that are like kind of a polyester material, but the thing that's nice about them is they're kind of seamless vibes. So I'm wearing leggings right now, and I did not want to wear a thong. I just don't wear them very often, and you can't really see the underwear that well. So I'm like, perf. Sometimes I even wear them not on my period. But now they also have like cotton, more comfortable, smooth pairs, and like I have boxer shorts, and I'll wear those at night. But fast forward to my other ship job. So this was just only in the past year where I'm in a bathing suit the entire time I'm working. I'm in the sauna, in and out, and I shower throughout my shift because I get sweaty. I do a cold plunge once or twice during my shift because I get really hot and I want to cool down. And I started working there and I was like, shit. There's no way I'm going to wear a pad here. And some people do, and I'm like, go for it, sis, slay girl. I was just like, I get too hot. And at the beginning of my other ship journey, I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna cold plunge during my shift. Now I've gotten comfortable enough in the sauna heat that like I can go a shift without plunging, but I can't go a shift without showering. And there's no like private showers. They're only showers that they're communal showers. So you can't just go take a naked shower, you know? So I was like, I'm gonna need to figure out a solution to this now. So, like I said, what was that lesson? You use the products that work for you until they no longer work for you, and then you find something else. And so my method of pads and period underwear for years and years and years was my stack. And so until I started working at Othership, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Actually, that wasn't true though, because when I was just starting to date Josh when I was 20 years old, I was like, ooh, menstrual cups. Everybody like talks about menstrual cups. Everybody's obsessed with menstrual cups. I'm going to try using menstrual cups. And if you remember, if you're a real OG, I made an episode about how I had a yeast infection. I got one every month for 6 months straight. Talk about an itchy coochie. And that was what I can attest to using my menstrual cup because I didn't fully understand. These were pre-ChatGPT days. Wow, are we old? Are we old? Because now we're going to say these are pre-ChatGPT days? Because now I would just be like, ChatGPT, why am I getting yeast infections? I'm using a cup. How do I properly clean it and wash it before and after all of my uses? Blah, 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 blah. I did not have that education at the time. Okay? So I was using a Diva cup for 6 months, and I also was literally dating Josh for I just met him 1 month after starting to use my Diva cup. So I'm like, is it this new dick or is it my period, my menstrual cup? I don't know. And what a fantastic way for Josh and I to navigate a real life issue so early on into our relationship was my yeast infections that I gave to him. Oh yeah, we may have matured over our years in this podcast, and I may not share something TMI every single episode, but this one, ooh, we are here. We are rocking and rolling. If you miss those days, let me know. Ask me TMI questions. I'll tell you more. It just takes a little bit more guts lately, I feel like, to talk about this stuff because I feel like I'm like a professional adult now. So I did have a phase using a Diva cup, and I mean, there you go. I was getting yeast infections. So I was like, this isn't working. Literally, fuck this. And so when I started working at Othership a couple years later, I was like, I think we need to revisit the Diva cup, but I think we need to just be a lot smarter about it. And I've just learned so much about my body since then. Like that was at the time, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's like 5 years ago. And now I know, like, if you're going to use a Diva cup, at least for me, this is what worked for me. You boil it before you start using it. And then between every time you change it out, for me, I wash it with soap, but not just any soap, okay? My aunt uses a menstrual cup, and so she basically guided me on this journey and she recommended a soap. I would not use that soap now. Like, I think that also had a lot to do with it. I use the brand Shorty Cup, Shordy, and there's a size small of Diva Cup. And if you haven't had kids, you know, you're on the younger side, you use a small typically, if that fits for your cooch. And so I use a Shorty Cup because also not all cups will fit you. And also, basically, every time you get a new cup, for me at least, I have to snip off the end part because there's the cup and then there's like this long, like stick thing where it can help you like pull it out. But I mean, my cup hangs pretty low. So if I have that stick attached, I'll just feel it. And again, you just never want to feel this stuff. So every time I get a new cup, I will cut off that part and know that I can just get it out with my hand. And so that's the thing. You just need to be so sanitary. Like, I double wash my hands before I take it out, before I put it in, because it's not just like one hand that touches it too. Like, you end up touching it with your other hand as you wash it. And then I didn't just use any soap. I got the Shorty Cup pH friendly brand to wash my cup. And so between every use, most of the time, whenever I change it out, I wash it with that pH friendly soap. Once in a while, I might be at work and I didn't bring the soap. That's fine. I'll just rinse it with water. I won't like use any type of other soap ever. I will never use another soap that's not the pH friendly soap. And then what I didn't know to do last time is after every cycle, when I'm done using it, I boil it again, which makes way more sense. Yeah, sure, you boil it before, great. But after you've used it for a few days or a week, you need to then get all of the bacteria off of it. And so you boil it again. And then there's a little cute container and you keep it in there. And it took me a while. It took me like 6 months to get my insertion method down. And now that I have it down, I have learned, like, no wonder tampons didn't work for me. Like, everyone's uterus kind of tilts in a different direction, I find. Like, it's never just up. It's like, people would say it's like kind of back and down towards like your butt, or like you're not towards your belly button. Anywho, so now it took me literally so much effort. I had so many days where I'd put my Diva Cup in and then I'd just be bleeding out and I'd be like, okay, obviously this isn't working. But I would finally found my way where I was like, okay, Jessica, your right leg needs to be on the toilet. Your left foot is on the ground. You have to put it in that way. But there's a slight tilt in the way I have to put my cup in. And so when I was putting in tampons, I didn't know there was a tilt. And so I was just trying to shove it in. And so you truly just, as you grow up and as you evolve and as you need to try out different products, you get to know your body more and more and more and get more comfortable with it. But the early days when I was 20 years old and I was first trying out a Diva Cup, I struggled to put it in. And then also the thing with a Diva Cup is it suctions around your walls, and that's how it doesn't leak. Mostly it shouldn't leak. I've had cycles where it doesn't leak a drop, and I've had cycles where it leaks a ton. But if it suctions, the thing is when you take it out, you have to break the seal. And so when I was 20 years old trying this, I was getting so anxious and I couldn't figure it out, and I was getting queasy because it freaks me out if I think too hard about something being inside my body. And I had to watch this video made by the Diva Cup brand where it was like, take a slow inhale and like a flower opening up, slowly exhale. And there was a picture of a flower in this video. It was so ridiculous. And I watched it like 3 times as I was trying to get it out, and I didn't properly like break the seal, and so I was just pulling from the bottom of the cup. So when I took it out, it felt like it went like this, and it like sucked the insides out of me. And so I literally had to lay on the floor afterwards because I felt like I was gonna pass out. She keeps trying though. You can't say I don't have fucking grit and I don't keep at it. I remember in grade 9, way before I was ready to try out a cup, I had a friend at school be like, oh my God, cups are so great and you get to learn exactly how much you bleed. Like sometimes a pad makes it seem like you bleed so much more or so much less or whatever. And I was like, okay, never trying that. And now that I have them, like, it's true. You really get a good sense of how much you bleed, which is very interesting. And at the end of the day, it's just data. It's just information. And it took me so long to figure out at this point when I started working at Othership, again, like I said, it took me 6 months to figure out how to insert it properly. I've had countless moments where I'm freaking out and I'm so overwhelmed and I can't get it in properly and I have to leave the house. And my boyfriend's like, what are you stressing about? And just stop using it then. But it's like, if you're going to decide to take your Diva Cup out and leave it out, I'm obsessive. I'm like, nope, I need to boil it right away. So then I need to have time to make sure I boil it and then wash my pot after. It's such a process. Being a woman is such a process. Having a period is such a process. But however, I'm so grateful I've stuck with the cup because now it's definitely been my favorite period collection method yet. And because of my lifestyle, it works really well. There are issues though, like when I was at the cottage in the summer, my parents were like, what is she doing? Like, why the fuck has she been in the bathroom for so long? And it was because I couldn't figure out how to insert it properly and I didn't want to use lake water to wash it. And so I was like taking a big jug of water, pouring it into a bowl, trying to clean it that way. It was a disaster. And, that's part of the process. And when men are like, why, what is she doing? Even my mom, like my mom's never used a cup. She's like, what is she doing? I'm just doing me. I'm just trying to make my life okay with my blood coming out of my vagina. Okay. That's all we're trying to do. And so the answer to my advice is, I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning. There's no perfect method. You will continue to evolve maybe what you use, the brand you use, what works for you, or maybe you don't. Maybe you find what works for you early on and you stick with that your whole life, and that's awesome too. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's whatever works for your body. So trust yourself, trust the journey, know that you just continue to get to know your body more and more and more. The older you get, the more time you have with your body. And I can't wait to know what I'm like when I'm like 47, because I just think like if at this rate, I'm still learning about myself. And there's downsides to the Diva Cup too, honestly. Like there's super downsides too. Like you can think about it. Maybe you'll be able to come to some conclusions if there's something inside of you all the time. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you submit a question if you have anything you would like me to ask, answer, talk about. You know what I mean. My head is jumbled now after all that TMI talk. I'm like, am I going to go crawl into a vulnerability hangover cave? Maybe. Help me not do that. Tell me if you like the show. Submit something, subscribe, share it with someone you love. Anyway, I'm going to go enjoy not being on my period. Love ya. Bye.